In this video, I want to show you how to make a simple error workflow that will get the information from workflow, got an error, and then email it to yourself. So that way you actually know when it happened and what caused it. To start, we want to click on the plus or hit tab and look up error and click on error trigger. And then if you say fetch test events, this is the kind of information that you're going to get from any of the nodes that cause an error that would cause the workflow to stop, typically. So you can see like the workflow name, in this case it was just examples, so there's kind of like dummy data, but you got the name, the last node run, and then any kind of message it got. So for instance, you can then hook this up into a workflow, which this code node isn't necessary, but I wanted to show it just in case people were interested. So what this code will do is actually going to send this entire JSON information in the email. Now, typically non-developers aren't going to want all that, but I at least wanted to show it in here if someone was interested in that. So what we're going to do is run this workflow just to have the fields fill out correctly. Set up your email appropriately. So put in your credentials, choose message, send, put in the email address that you want it to send to. And then for the subject, I usually just put in error with workflow, and then you can actually grab the name of the workflow. So on the left, you can choose error trigger and then the name here. So just drag that over and I would fill that in. And then leave the email type as text. And then you can put in error message if you want. Error message, and then you would drag the message over to here. Last node executed, so that would be the node that actually threw the error. So if you have like a Google Sheets and it didn't process the request correctly, it would give you the Google Sheets node. And then the error is if you actually want to include all that JSON information that was in the previous node. So for example, I will send this and then pull up my Gmail so you can actually see what that looks like. So this is the kind of email that you would get for that basic information. So it gives you the error with workflow, error message, last node, error. So what you can do then is save this and make sure that you name it something appropriate. So error flow. So I made a simple workflow for demo of error. And then at the top right, you can click on these three dots and then go to settings. And then this is per workflow. But if you go to error workflow, hit the drop down and choose the name of that error flow or error workflow, whatever you want to call it, that we just made previously. So now, if anything happens during this flow, it will send that email with all the information. So if you do this, the three dots, and then choose settings and error flow, that will send an email for any node in the entire workflow doesn't process correctly. It gets an error. Alternatively, if you want, you can go into a node, and if you ever notice this settings tab, you have additional options in here, and on error, typically it's stop workflow. You can actually come in here and say continue using an error output. And what that will do is give you another branch here, so then you could set it up a different path. So like say you want it to be notified in Slack or something whenever this happens, you could do that. Or you can send an email directly here if you want. But just for example, I'm going to turn this off. So it's just stop workflow. And just so you are aware, this is a simple worksheet. It just adds first and last name that is filled in from the form. So this way we'll be able to see if this triggers correctly if I don't have the canvas showing on the screen. Typically, if it errors out, you'll see it on the canvas. You'll get the red alerts and they'll get a little red circle. But if you have it active and someone fills in this form, for instance, you're not going to have the screen up and you're not going to see it real time. So now that this is active, I just want to show you that it works correctly. So fill it in. We'll watch it pop in, there it goes. So it works correctly. Now, for instance, if someone comes in here and changes this to something different like last name 2, and we go back to go back to the form, and fill it in again. Doesn't matter what I put. Submit. But now if we come over here, you don't see what I put in. And if we go to my email, there we go. We now get an email. It comes up saying the workflow demo of error. The error message, column name was updated after the node was set up. So it's telling you exactly what's wrong. Like the information that N8N has stored doesn't match what that Google Sheet now has. So the last node was append row in sheet. So that was append row in sheet. So that way it tells you which node caused this error. So you can come back in here and you now see this little triangle. Columns are outdated. Refresh to see the changes. So click on this refresh. And now you'll see last name 2 popped up. And now I would have to map the things again for it to work. But that way you at least get an email. You get notified whenever something happens with the workflow and it doesn't process like you expect it to. This gives you a clear description of what happened. And also for those that are concerned, this is all the JSON information that you get from that error. So you can dig down through there if you really want to. It tells you the values that it received, and it was trying to match it, but it couldn't. Okay, so now what I did, I added the send an email directly to the error flow. I just have it different of the error flow I showed earlier. This is different just to see which would take precedence first, like this one that's on the node or the general one that's on the workflow. So if you look on here, it's still set up for last name, and we're getting that alert, so we at least know that it's correct in the fact that it's going to be broke. And on the work list, I have last name 2. So if we were to refresh this again and send it, in theory, we should get an email different than this one we got before. And there we go. So this is the email that I just configured real quick on this node. So keep that in mind. If you want it to go separately, you can choose a different route and it won't follow the same workflow, the error flow up here. So if you need to do something differently, you can. Otherwise, that error flow is kind of like a catch-all. If any other nodes in the workflow error out, that will catch it and do whatever you ask it to do. That's it for this one. If you have any other suggestions for future topics, leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.